Hello. I am a math teacher from the United States. I have been asked to explain the difference between traditional and constructivist teaching strategies. There is a long and ongoing debate over which teaching method is better for student outcomes. A lot of people just do not understand what the difference is. It is important to know the difference, so that you can advocate for the best kinds of math textbooks and teaching strategies for your child. Think of it like this. Imagine that you are wearing some fancy lace-up sneakers. You have gone to visit a foreign and shoeless country. You have just met an individual who is interested in wearing shoes, but they do not know anything about them. If you were to use traditional teaching strategies, you would begin by talking about the concepts of shoes, laces, and bows. You would refer to the shoes on your feet as you were discussing those concepts. Next, you would put on and tie one of your shoes while the person was watching. You demonstrate how to do it. After the demonstration, you assist the other person with putting a shoe on and tying a bow in the laces. Finally, you would give the person plenty of chances to practice what you have just taught. A person who has learned a foundational skill like this can then apply it to other situations, such as tying a bow on a kit, or tying a belt into a bow. With further study, they could tie a necktie or knots on a sailboat because they understand the use of laces and how to join them together. That was a traditional approach. So, how is a constructivist teaching strategy different? With constructivism, the first thing you would do is hand the person your shoe and give them some time to have a good look at it on their own. You might tell them that this is a shoe, but you would not want to constrict their thinking by telling them too much about it, or how its parts function. Next, you might ask the person to write a short essay on their thoughts about the shoe. You might have them draw a picture of the shoe and how they think the laces affect the wearing of it. Now, using the constructivist approach, you will hand them the lace and the unlaced shoe, and ask them to find as many ways as possible, using the lace, to bind the shoe to the foot. Once you have completed that part, you would suggest that tying a bow in a laced shoe will work to achieve the desired result of wearing the shoe. You would allow them a practice opportunity or two. Then, it would be time to move on to another subject, such as zipping your hoodie or combing your hair. The last step in the constructivist approach is to come back to the point where you left off, of putting on and tying shoes, and ask the person to tie a bow on a gift. If mastery was not assured, this may present some difficulties. Now, shoes seem like a silly example, but consider how those teaching methods would work for a math concept, like the Pythagorean theorem. Is it not critical that students be introduced to the concept, see how the theorem works, try it themselves, and then practice to a point of complete mastery? A constructivist method would ask a student to find the area of a triangle without the theorem. After playing with some of their own ideas, maybe drawing some pictures, and coming up with their own method to calculate area, the students are told about the theorem. They get a few practice problems and are moved along to the next topic. Mastery, theoretically, will come when the teacher loops back to the topic again over the course of a year or so. Let me ask you a question at this point. Do you think it is helpful to the person to know what kind of learner they are? Visual, auditory, or tactile? Do any of those categorizations matter for learning to tie shoes? The answer is no. It is not particularly helpful to a student to know how they learn. What matters is that the concepts be explained by a knowledgeable authority who wears shoes all the time, and can communicate that information in ways which engage all learner types, and that the opportunity to master the skill be reinforced through repetition and practice. This is why traditional strategies are the primary method for teaching math in the countries with the highest math scores. In the United States, we have allowed the constructivist method to overtake schools. If it was the superior method, we would note a sharp increase in math scores. In fact, U.S. math scores have dropped since constructivism became a teaching trend in the 1990s. Furthermore, if constructivist teaching methods were superior, we would apply them to teach writing, chemistry, phys ed, and music. We do not. Every academic subject, including math, requires a certain amount of fact-based knowledge to be passed from the teacher to the student, in order for the student to acquire any knowledge at all. Google Math Wars, or Constructivist Learning Theory. There are also specific Wikipedia articles on those topics. Now that you understand the differences, pay attention to how your student is being taught. Advocate for traditional methods and textbooks. Help America achieve better student results in the global society. And think about this every time you tie your shoes.